Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and there we go. Well, hey, why's that not starting? So everyone, welcome into the program. Let's see. So obviously, everyone, I hope that you're doing well, and there we go. Hopefully you are ready for some Computer America. Sorry that we've been off the air for the past couple of days. We've had best of shows. Hopefully you enjoyed those, and we are ready to get right back into it, everyone. First things first, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including articles, reviews, show notes, and just anything that we talk about here today, including videos or products or announcements. Everything will be included in the show notes for today. Now, everyone, welcome into the program. Let's go ahead and say, hey, hopefully you're doing well. Again, computeramerica.com and all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and get started with a full hour of computer and technology news. We have a lot of stories, and when I mean a lot, normally we run about 10-15. We're probably not going to get to about the 25 that we have lined up. A lot's been going on since we left, and we want to keep you all up to date on it. There's a lot to go over, and hopefully you're ready for this. So everyone, let's go ahead and talk about this. Here we go. Computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. So our first one, this is going to apply to only about 95% of people with a personal computer, or I should say 100% of the people with a personal computer, 95% of people with computer, because obviously other people run Linux and iOS, or I should say Mac OS and things like that. Well, now for everyone running Microsoft and Windows 10, we have an update. That's right, an update to the update, or I should say the update to the update model. This is coming to us from Ars Technica and Mr. Jim Salter saying that Microsoft changes Windows 10's update model. Because if you recall, Microsoft had at the very beginning of Windows 10, they said that you were on a mandatory update cycle. Every 2 weeks, you had to upgrade, and if you didn't upgrade after 2 weeks, they would force you to. You had to stay current. And they did this for a couple reasons. The first one is that making sure that Windows 10 was patched across multiple operating systems. There was a dark time in Microsoft's past where Windows XP had a huge majority of the market. We're talking like 40, 50, 60% for about a decade. And then on top of that, Windows Vista, that didn't really go too well. And then when Windows 7 came out, everyone recommended that Windows Vista upgrade to Windows 7. But everyone on XP, they didn't feel like it. They stayed with XP for a number of reasons, including compatibility with a lot of software. So you had Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 8, 8.1 came out, Windows XP was still going strong, and now we're at Windows 10. And just about Windows 10, a decade after Windows XP, they really stopped all security updates. So like before, they would make sure that everything worked and it had security patches and things like that. Windows XP was completely dropped from the docket. Windows 7 has since been dropped from the security cycle, and more, so on and so forth. Essentially meaning that Windows 10 is their main operating system. No longer is it when they're not really supporting anything else, and because of that, they could save on a lot of development time and a lot of frustration if they could get everyone not just on the same operating system with Windows 10, but on top of that, the same patch of the same operating system. So no more Windows 10, fall update, spring update, what have you. Nope, they're trying to get everyone on the same. And of course, the problem with all of that, because I laid out the positive for such a system, the negatives of such a system are that, well, you're forced to. You have to update to Windows 10. Some people don't like that. Some people don't like updates. They restart your computer, they stop progress, they're very annoying. Just the smallest of inconveniences to people's days really sets them off and can send them to the internet in a fit of keyboard rage. Well, looks like we may get a little bit of a reprieve. So let's go ahead and get into this. So Microsoft outlined new directions for Windows 10 update model in a pair of blog posts. It looks like the company is shifting its twice annual major release cycle to a twice annual major minor release cycle, with major upgrades in spring and minor upgrades in the fall. So it looks like they're pulling back a little bit, because if you've been paying attention to this year, the spring update was fairly large, and then the fall edition of Windows 10 that should be coming out here shortly is going to be another large change. And a lot of it is to usability and some tweaks here and there, but they had two major, so now we're on a major minor. So in the past, so to understand the shift, you need to know a little bit how Microsoft was releasing Windows 10 builds to date. And of course, they released them to Windows insiders. In short, fast rank subscribers are the first to get new features and updates. Slow rank subscribers get those features before they're public, but not until after fast rank have had the chance to flesh out a lot of the bugs. So obviously, this is kind of like the alpha beta testers before it gets pushed out to live. So this means that fast ring customers got a new major Windows 10 build first, then slow ring, got the same build after a few service updates. What happened this year was different. Fast ring skipped 19H2, which is the fall 2019 update, entirely, and went directly into spring 2020. And, well, the slow ring never joined them at all. So they said that the slow ring instead got an ostensibly brand new build of 19H2, which is again the second quarter update for 2019, which the fast ring had never touched. If you're not already intimately familiar with how Windows 10 preview builds are deployed, it might be easier to follow this quick table, which you can see here. If you're watching the video portion, you can see it right here. But the point is that said that when you put all this together, it looks very much like the previously speculated shift to major minor release cycle. This would honor the spirit of the agreement that the Windows insiders on slow ring, even if it messes the letter a bit. Now, so if Microsoft continues in the vein that it began in the recent two patches, again the fall 2019 and the spring 2020. They will get longer periods of time to test the biggest and potentially more problematic feature upgrades, and slow ring will get the first crack at, the smaller incremental upgrades that are aimed at fixing long-term problems in performance and stability. So, and by the way, what I was talking about at the beginning of this with the mandatory updates and things like that, they've already pulled back on that a little bit. I thought this would apply to that, but looks like they're actually doing it with the fall spring update and major ones in the beginning of the year, minor tech improvements later in the year. It doesn't mean that the two can't switch, but hey, it's this is what they're going for, so everyone should really pay attention to that. Okay. So there's the first story, just simple, one to get out of the way. Let's go ahead and continue on. Lots of different articles here. Let's talk about, hey, what else? Microsoft. So this one is also really quick, but hey, if you are an Xbox One fan, you're probably going to be not shocked, but you're going to notice a redesign, because Microsoft loves to redesign the Xbox One operating system. And you can see a picture of it here, but for everyone out there who can't see it, it's much cleaner, it's much sleeker. It's kind of taking, well, of course, it's all about video games. So much like on a Windows 10 desktop, where you get those nice, panoramic views, these are views of video game, kind of places. But it is very reminiscent of Windows 10 mixed with Xbox One dashboard. They said that the software maker has started experimenting with what it describes as a more streamlined user interface, and this is the area you'll immediately see when you power on the Xbox One console, so the dashboard is the first thing. The new design includes quicker access to the Xbox Game Pass titles, Microsoft's Mixer service, Xbox Community Feature, and the Microsoft Store, essentially putting what they feel is, the most visited parts. And really, that's the point of sending Microsoft your analytics, which we recommend that you really don't. But even when they do, it means that Microsoft knows where people are going, and they're trying to make the operating system better by, simply putting things in logical order. Maybe not in alphabetical order or numerical order or anything like that, but just in logical order. So they said that this should make it easier to access more frequently used games on the home screen, obviously. Now, one thing that you're going to notice here is that Microsoft is removing Cortana from the Xbox One. I don't know what this means for Cortana. She's been such a, and I say she, the Microsoft's digital assistant has been really not as pivotal as I think Microsoft was hoping with Windows 8 and 8.1, and of course Windows 10. They said Cortana was going to be completely baked into the operating system, and to see Cortana be removed from one of its major platforms is pretty worrisome for the application. Now, Microsoft says it's moving to cloud-based assistants, meaning you can no longer talk to Cortana via your headset. You'll still be able to power on your Xbox One through the Xbox skills for Cortana on iOS, Android, or Windows, just like the existing Alexa integration. So, it's no surprise to see Cortana disappearing from the Xbox One. Microsoft has a new focus for Cortana on more business-related scenarios, and the company is working to make Cortana better at holding conversations. I would hope so. She was pretty bad. Microsoft also previously decoupled Cortana from the search results in Windows 10 May 2019 update, and now the company is bringing Cortana to the Microsoft Store as a separate app. Should have been that way from the beginning. Removing Cortana from Xbox is another step in the digital assistant's demise on the consumer side of Microsoft's software and services. I'm not sad at all. Cortana was woefully inadequate compared to some of the other digital assistants that we're used to. To see it go away from Xbox and Xbox One, not going to be a big loss there. But there you go. Xbox One receiving a visual upgrade, or at least a refresh. Whether or not it's an upgrade, we'll find out. Now, there's that first one. There's the second story. We have tons and tons of different stories to pick one out of these. Okay, this is one that I was actually telling my family about over our little break there, and looks like, other people were talking to, not just me. If you haven't been paying attention, there's this application called DoorDash. It's you download it for your smartphone, and you have people essentially deliver food to your door. Hence DoorDash, where you order from all your favorite restaurants, and much like some of the other applications that we've interviewed here on the show, people who are essentially the runners of the food, they get to take the job. You can be guaranteed, let's just say $7 for taking this job, $6, $5, depending on the time it takes and the delivery distance and things like that. DoorDash promises to give you a minimum amount of compensation. Now, here's the thing. DoorDash got in a bit of trouble recently because, well, their tipping scheme was it was pretty bad. So let's say you're a runner for food. You are guaranteed $8 for taking this job. So you say yes to the order, and then the person on the other end, you input the tip before anything even happens. Or even, actually, I just used it the other day. You can put the tip in before it even happens so that people can see how much they're going to be tipped before. Now, how it used to work, and again, this article is about how they're changing this model, but it should be very clear why they're changing it. How it used to work is that DoorDash would guarantee you $8 for taking the job. If the person on the other end decides that they want to tip through the app, they would tip the driver, let's say $4 on the whole job. DoorDash would then give the $4 to the runner, but then they would subtract $4 from the $8 that they promised, because they promised them a minimum of $8 per order. And the tip was then in essence, the tip was then going to DoorDash as opposed to the runner. Even though technically the tip was still going to the runner, the DoorDash would lower their guaranteed fee by whatever the tip amount was. So the only way that you were actually tipping the driver was A, if you were tipping in cash, or B, if you were tipping more than the guaranteed job amount, which as the food orderer, you have no way of knowing how much that actually is. Now, so that's how this whole article came about. That's what people were talking about. And looks like Tuesday, the CEO of the company announced a new change to the way that that tips are handled, which is great. Food delivery app DoorDash, and this is an article from Gizmodo, doubled down on its policy of systematically skimming customer tips meant for its fleet of contract delivery workers. That resolve cracked on Tuesday night when CEO Tony Zhu took to Twitter to announce some unspecified changes to his compensation model. And we already went over how it worked. It was very unclear where your tip was going and how it affected the driver. Because you'd think if you tip $3, then hey, the money never goes. Technically, that money should never be touched by DoorDash. The $3 should just be given directly to the driver. It didn't work that way, as I just discussed. Now, while DoorDash has previously stood by this policy, even under withering criticism, it would appear that the company has finally had it up to here with people whining. They said on Tuesday night, Zhu tweeted that DoorDash missed that their policy of tip shaving would make some customers feel tipping did not matter, which could be generously described as a non-apology. And that after a year of ambiguous research, the company will now implement a new model that will ensure Dashers' earnings will increase by the exact amount a customer tips on an order. Because, yeah, and really, when you think about it, as long as people didn't talk about it, this saved DoorDash money because people were obviously tipping. You tip for people coming to your house and giving you food. That's a custom here in America. It saved people, or at least it saved DoorDash $3, $4, $5 to $1 if you're not that good of a tipper. It saved DoorDash that much on every single delivery. But now that people are talking about it, it doesn't make sense to stand by it because, hey, just me mentioning it here on the air and a lot of people mentioning it online, if you are guaranteed $8 regardless of the tip, then, hey, you should not tip or tip in cash. That way, well, the driver gets their full amount from DoorDash and they still get the money that you would otherwise tip. There you go. So it was starting to cost DoorDash money. And yep, so they have a couple of tweets here that you can see if you're watching the video portion. They said, but it's clear from our recent feedback that we didn't strike the right balance. We thought we were doing the right thing by making Dashers whole when a customer left no tip. That we missed was that customer who did tip would feel that their tip did not matter. We did not launch our current model to pay Dashers less. In fact, we moved it. Our average contribution to Dashers stayed the same. So going forward, and this is again all a quote from the CEO of DoorDash, we're changing our model The new model will ensure that Dasher's earnings will increase by the exact amount a customer tips on every order. We'll have specific details in the coming days. Customers' obsession with getting 1% better every day are core values at DoorDash. Yeah, and they said that these beliefs had led us to improvement in the past and serve and guide our future, blah, blah, blah. So the article, again from Gizmodo, mentions, notably absent from the thread is any contrition for its practice of ripping off its underpaid labor force. It's also unclear whether Zeus' statistic that DoorDash average contribution to Dasher stayed the same since it started pocketing a portion of the tips back in 2017. And by the way, DoorDash explicitly stated in a blog post in 2017 that the internal test of the tip skimming model showed that more Dashers earn more money. That's the problem, is that we have to take their word for it. There is little to no oversight. There is no protection, at least in the restaurant industry, where sometimes people in the restaurant industry are paid like, $2.65 or something ridiculously below the federal minimum wage. At least there's some consumer protection, but labor protection, that if you don't earn more in tips, then your employer has to cover the difference so that you earn at least minimum wage. But a lot of employees actually earn more than that, so sometimes it's not really an issue. As independent contractors, and this is a bill that we saw introduced in California, trying to turn everything from Uber drivers to Lyft drivers to DoorDashers to really any gig economy application out there, turning them from independent contractors to full-blown employees means that they then have access to those protections that are afforded to any other member of the labor force. Currently, there are none. Independent contractors essentially take all the risk onto themselves and receive none of the benefits of really working for these companies. So there you go. Zoo also did not go into further detail on the policy changes, leaving it unclear whether DoorDash's supposed end to tip skimming, where the supposed end to tip skimming comes with a giant asterisk. For example, adjustments to its guaranteed rates that could easily leave DoorDash contractors making the same amount of money as they do now, or some other subtle form of tomfoolery. Let's go ahead and put that word in. So there you go. DoorDash received a lot of flack, and now, thanks to public outcry that the internet is so good at, there you go. Okay, so there you go. DoorDash, if you're listening, yeah, don't steal tips. That's been known in the restaurant industry forever, and I know that they're not really your employees. They're just independent contractors as you see them. Don't steal tips. There you go. Now, our next article. We have time to get into one, maybe two more. Why don't we go ahead and... Okay. How about just a quick announcement? And this is kind of a pat on the back for Google. Google's a big company. Google is a very, very large company. And if you're wondering how many people actually use Google, check this out. In 4 years, Google... wait, no, I got the wrong story here on the video portion. So here we go. Here's the right one. Google Photos hit 1 billion users with a B. And I feel like 1 billion isn't enough to truly capture the number. Like just saying the word billion. 1,000 million people, and that's not even good. I can't even express it right. 1 billion people, let's just say that, joined in just over 4 years. Google Photos has that many active users. And by the way, it took Gmail about 12 years to reach the 10-digit user base, saying that Google has confirmed Google Photos now has more than 1 billion users. It surpassed the milestone earlier this summer, a little over 4 years after it unveiled Photos. Google told Fast Company in a profile of the service, saying that the company spun out Photos from Google Plus at I/O 2015, which, by the way, great call. People love Google Photos. They do not like Google Plus. And by the way, Google Plus is officially debunked. So there you go. I should say defunct. Now, it's the ninth Google product to hit the billion user mark, following Search, obviously Google Search, huge, Gmail, Chrome, Drive, Maps, YouTube, Play Store, and Android. But it got there a lot faster than many of these. And they said that Facebook and Instagram each hit a billion users in about 8 years. So Google Photos, I have to say, part of this feels like anyone with a Google Drive or anyone with Gmail or anyone with access to the Play Store, Google Photos, which we talked last month or I think it was this month with Sandy Berger. Google Photos is one of the best ways to store, share, and just kind of hang on to your photos in a digital space. It's really the best way. And again, anyone with one of these relative or a Google account has access to Google Photos kind of natively. So it makes perfect sense. Yeah, there you go. And they said that one of the reasons it hit the figure so quickly is because it frequently adds new features useful to users. Saying that the latest Gallery Go, which is a lightweight photo manager for Android, was introduced. It also lets people manage their images offline and can automatically sort them by categories, including people, documents, and places. There you go. So Google Photos, good job, Google. That's a lot of photos. That's a lot of server space. And if you think about it, if you're wondering how does Google recoup the cost, well, just know Google has the right to scan your photos. I don't think they're going to use them, even though I'm sure that they have some lawyer speak out there saying that yes, they can use any photos that you upload to Google Photos, but they're definitely going to scan them, run them through artificial intelligence, and help their artificial intelligence recognize photos much better. And if you wonder, why is that good, Ben? That's good for Google searches, Google images, Google Photos. It's good for Google Maps and really just AI training in general. Think about it. Google now has access to a billion different users, all inputting different photos and tagging them, tagging people, tagging associates, tagging locations with, what this is, things like that. Google is getting so much data. It's very happy. It's very happy that it hit 1 billion users, and it's going to pay off. So there you go. Let's go ahead and continue on. All right. So our next story, and we have time for just one more. Yeah, we have a lot of data ones. How about some leaks? And I don't mean like the water kind, although obviously it comes from that. Let's talk about the Apple kind. Apple and what's happening in the fall, this fall, saying that leaks reveal a trio of, by the way, spoiler alerts, if anyone really cares, spoiler alerts, this is going to talk about the iPhone 11. Leaks reveal a trio of iPhone 11 releases to come from Apple this fall, saying to expect to hear all about the A13 and the new Taptic Engine this fall. Very, very exciting because, hey, it's major refreshes. Apple often introduces a new wave of hardware at its fall events, and this year the company seems to be preparing a fresh trio of iPhones, saying that the new models will be powered by Apple's A13 chip and still be equipped with the Lightning port rather than USB-C. Personally, I kind of wish Apple went to USB-C. Just the interoperability of just having one standard. We've talked about standard on the show before. Standardization makes the world go round, and I wish Apple wouldn't stick to its guns when it came to this. But hey, still Lightning instead of USB-C. But I digress. The news comes from Guilherme Rambo at 9to5Mac, who has produced some reliable Apple scoops in recent months. He cites people who have seen the devices paired with the latest claims from Apple's supply chain. This is looking like a plausible picture of what we can expect from Apple. Saying that the 3 models that will be introduced are dubbed the iPhone 11 are reportedly intended to replace the 3 iterations of the iPhone XS. They said that the replacement for the iPhone XS is internally known as the D42, while the D43 will sub in for the iPhone XS Max. The N104 will replace the less expensive iPhone XR, or I should say 10R. And by the way, the 10R, for those of you who don't know, it had like it had like an LED, it had an LCD display instead of an LED display. So a little bit worse in really all regards, but it was still a very capable phone. It was just kind of the entry point to the high end of high-end smartphones. Now, the 3 new models will have the same screen resolution as the existing iPhone XS counterparts. The screen technologies will also stay the same, and they're supporting OLED Retina displays, and the 11R will include a Retina display, or a liquid Retina display. So everyone, music in the background means we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. More Computer America right after this. Everyone, stay tuned.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And for those of you just joining us, welcome back into the program. We are doing computer and technology news. We are currently in the middle of the story about iPhone 11 and some of the leaks and what we can expect at the end of the year, or at least in the fall. Now, we're talking about iPhone 11 and, talking about the screens. Essentially, the innards are going to stay the same, or not the innards, the screen resolutions and the display technologies are going to stay the same. So if you're hoping for anything better than what you currently have available to you through the iPhone XS and XS Max, no such luck. And again, we are talking about the iPhone 11. So the arrival of the A13 chip will likely mark a step up in power for Apple devices, saying that chip engineering and architecture has been a growing focus for the company. The A12 chip, and by the way, if you don't recall, the A12 the A12 was a deviation, actually I think all the way back to like the A9 or A10, which these are all processors for phones. They stopped working with Intel and they started to develop their own, and that was a big change in recent phones. So the A13, which is going to be the new chip, should hopefully provide some upgrades. The A12 chip in the iPhone XS models increased the number of operations per second from 600 billion to 5 trillion, and the A12 A12X system on a chip in the 2018 iPad Pro delivered better stats than the 2017 and 2016 model of the MacBook Pro. There you go. And by the way, the A12, which was last year's, went from 600 billion to 5 trillion. What that actually means number-wise, who the heck knows? I wish they were more clear. But we've mostly seen just rumors and guesswork about the A13, but it seems Apple will want to keep pushing for even bigger and more impressive stats in this area. Because right now, if you're talking about screen size, screen or display quality or things like that, you're not going to get any of that anytime soon, or at least you're not going to get noticeable improvements. But where you can improve are the speeds, the battery efficiency, the battery size, things like that. This is where we're going to look for better. Now, one of the more notable changes being reported for these iPhones is a new type of Taptic Engine. Saying that we've recently heard the engine's code name is Leap Haptics, but that's about all. But that's about all the insight available presently. The new haptics are expected to potentially replace Apple's 3D Touch system. And really, this is one of the coolest things about iPhones to me, is that if you ever turn an iPhone off, when it's on, it has that kind of, let's say you press the home button, you can, kind of feel it click like a regular button. But that's clearly just the Taptic Engine. If you ever turn an iPhone off, you kind of think that your iPhone's broken because it feels so unnatural that that little home button down there doesn't actually press in. It's all kind of it's definitely hardware, but it's more Taptic Engine driven than it is an actual depressible button. So I hope that they improve it. I would love to see more. And Apple's 3D Touch system is it was good, but there's definitely room for improvement. So cameras have received lots of attention from Apple in recent years, and the new models seem to come with another fresh batch of updates. The front camera on the device will add support for slow motion video capture at 120 frames per second. Not bad, could be better, but hey, I'm glad that the front-facing camera will now support slow motion. Let's see. So they have things like wide-angle image options available to the front-facing camera, smart frame, blah blah blah. Essentially, can't wait to see it. I'm hoping that the iPhone 11 is worth upgrading to, because really in the past 2 or 3, I'm still on an iPhone 7, 7 Max, or I should say 7S. I have not felt the need to upgrade, and honestly, with every year over year, it's just like a 10% upgrade with not really an upgrade to anything else. I'm hoping that Apple improves these devices enough that I even feel like upgrading from an iPhone 7, because currently that's not the case. So there you go. Okay, so there's that one. Leak from Apple. Who knew? Okay, how about we talk about Okay, so how about some product announcements? And these are pretty varied, from all different kinds of companies. One that I followed very, very closely, speaking of phones, Red. If you don't know who Red is, Red makes those, the 8K video, the 8K cameras for Hollywood movies and things like that. In the film industry, Red is a household name, or at least it's an industry name. Red in the consumer space, though, not so much, because who's going to pay $40,000 for a movie quality camera? No one. But if you didn't hear, they came out with a camera, or they came out with a phone that was about $1,800. And really, it was a mess of a phone. It was way overpriced. The specs were actually pretty inferior to a lot of others. It had this goofy 3D effect, or faux 3D effect that it tried to do. It was just all over the place. It was expensive. It was really bad overall. And hey, and by the way, not $1,300. Although I think you could upgrade it to $1,800, but still $1,300. It was different. So here we go. This is an article from Ars Technica, and we're just going to touch on this lightly. And again, if you haven't seen it, it was a cool looking phone. It really was. I honestly did like it. It just didn't go well. So the high-end camera maker Red jumped into the smartphone industry in late 2018 with the launch of the Red Hydrogen 1. It was a $1,300 phone. It was unique, featuring Red's trademark industrial design, molded finger grips on the side, a carbon fiber backplate, and either a titanium or aluminum body. Saying that the wall design was not enough to create a compelling smartphone package, and now Red's outspoken founder has taken to the company's forums to talk about what went wrong, and he blamed the design and manufacturing partner for the failure of the Hydrogen 1. He made big promises for a forthcoming Hydrogen 2 phone. Which, I mean, if you're going to start talking about a Hydrogen 2 phone, you shouldn't start off by saying, man, 1 was such a failure, just wait until 2, because that does not inspire confidence. So they have a quote here from, again, the founder saying that we chose an ODM in China to prepare Hydrogen 1 for manufacture at Foxconn. And while Foxconn has been fantastic, and if you don't recall, Foxconn is the manufacturer of all Apple phones, and on top of that, they were supposed to open up a large manufacturing plant in, I want to say something like Vancouver, or not Vancouver, like Ohio or something like that. But that's a whole nother issue. They're not going to do that, very sadly. But they said that while Foxconn has been fantastic, our ODM, which is an original design manufacturer, which was responsible for the mechanical packaging of our design, including new technologies along with all software integration with the Qualcomm processor, has significantly underperformed. Getting our ODM in China to finish the committed features and fix known issues on the Hydrogen 1 has proven to be beyond challenging. Impossible, actually. So he's blaming the fact that the company, because obviously Foxconn puts the phones together, but he's saying that the company in charge of working out all of the nitpicky details of, how to get each part manufactured, so that then after they're manufactured, they can all go to Foxconn and they can be put together. That's where they're having problems, because it's really hard to get them to fix things. That was the essence of his quote. So he mentioned that blaming the ODM for the woes of the Hydrogen 1 is an interesting strategy. The biggest complaint about the first Red phone weren't that it was shoddily built or designed, but that the basic outline of the phone didn't offer any compelling features over a normal smartphone, which I would agree. I had not heard of Hydrogen 1 phones blowing up. I had not heard about screens failing. I had not heard about anything cracking. I had not heard about bad battery life. I had not heard about really anything bad about the phone quality-wise. It was just clear from, kind of what we talked about. It just, like I said, it was a $1,300 phone that any other phone manufacturer out there would probably price somewhere in the neighborhood of about $900. It was just overpriced. The Red phone had a 3D touchscreen. Had a 3D screen technology, but didn't offer a compelling illusion of a third dimension. What then was the point of this bulky, ugly phone with dated hardware? Emphasis on dated hardware. So Red isn't going to let a single failure stop it from building more smartphones, saying, quote, and this is again from the founder, "We have begun the work on Hydrogen 2, the phone we built virtually from scratch at a new ODM that is clearly more capable of building and supporting a product we and our customers demand." Saying that we fully understand the frustrations of our customers, saying that after blaming Red's ODM again, he said that Hydrogen 1 customers will get preferential treatment in delivery allocations and pricing for the new phone. Sounds like if you purchase a Hydrogen 1, you might be first in line and get a discount for buying the Hydrogen 2. So as for the modular system, Red originally promised to ship 3 separate modules by 2019, a power pack, a storage expansion module, and a cinema upgrade camera module, All mentions of these modules were scrubbed from the Red's website, and today only a few different camera modules, only a few different camera module was mentioned. He again blamed Red's ODM for the problem, saying that we eventually realized that the original camera module would have to change due to the fact that our ODM was not going to completely competently complete the module that they committed and guaranteed to do. So there you go. So it's still unclear, and the article sums up by saying it's still unclear exactly what Red thinks its position in the smartphone market should be. He opened his post by lamenting the difficulty of building a smartphone in China, saying that using the normal Red manufacturing system in California just wasn't possible given the competitive nature of the market. So what competition does Jared think the Red phone has? Was Red ever trying to compete in the mainstream market? They seem either a niche industrial camera platform in a roughly smartphone form factor and or a niche luxury object for people who would happily spend $20,000 on a Red camera. Either way, it doesn't seem like the smartphone competition should be much of a concern. At the very least, you have to hope that Red puts some of its camera technology into its smartphone this time, which I think that is really what you need to do. If you are an industry leader in high-end camera technology, and I mean like cinema quality high-end camera technology, and you put out a smartphone that is taking pictures at or below other competitors who are cheaper than you, if you are putting out hardware that is slower and outdated compared to phones that are at the same price as you, the least you could do is knock the price up a bit, deliver what you're promising, and really nail the fact that you are, really nail the fact that you are a camera company first and a smartphone manufacturer second, and put out the best camera the market has ever seen in a smartphone. They could have done it. I feel like they missed their mark. Much like, let's compare them to Tesla. Why not? Much like Tesla, a lot of their competition, such as LG or Apple or Samsung or even Huawei and things like that, a lot of their manufacturing routes, a lot of their supply chains, things like that, it's set in stone. They're good to go. They may strike a new contract here or there, but they've done the upfront investing in making a new smartphone. Much like Tesla, Red had to start completely over. There's a reason that, even though Tesla received so much attention, so much praise, so much publicity for what they do, even a company that big and that successful, and, I use the term successful lightly, Tesla's still struggling. They're talking about, changing their pricing scheme every year. They're talking about pulling back expectations, not selling as many cars, not being able to produce as many cars. And yeah, just the overhead of starting a car company is just massive. No one can really seem to crack that. Smartphones, same way. The overhead, the initial cost, no one's going to make their money back initially. And for Red, they had to make sacrifices for the hardware to get things off the ground. I'm hoping the second one is better now that they've kind of dipped their toe and they have invested some of that money. Hopefully some of that investment from the Hydrogen 1 can carry over to the Hydrogen 2. And again, let's hope that makes the Hydrogen 2 better. But hey, still very interesting. I was very much looking forward to that, and happy that it's not completely gone. So let's go ahead and wow, time is flying on by. We only have time for just a couple more stories. How about this one? This one was very interesting to me because we've talked about we talked about DoorDash at the beginning, and how about this? Rover. If you haven't heard of them, not talking about the dog walking company or things like that. This is peer-to-peer parking marketplace. Rover test monthly subscription, because it's much easier to say, hey, pay us for, pay us $300 and you get to use this forever. No, that's not the future. And by the way, this is what TechCrunch mentions as well. Instead of asking you to pay a massive upfront cost, no, they'd rather you pay a monthly subscription fee, which, really a steady income is more important than a one-time large sum, at least to a lot of these companies. Because if you can have a steady source of income via subscribers, you are much more attractive to investors, because then you can upsell, you can, do that kind of thing. But I digress. TechCrunch and again, peer-to-peer parking marketplace Rover tests monthly subscriptions, and I had not even heard about this. So they said that Rover is testing out subscriptions for its parking marketplace. Rover lets users list their unused parking spots for on-demand rental by others on the service, giving them a passive way to earn money, to earn some income, while hopefully increasing the utilization rate of parking spaces at the same time. Which you can see for, if you live in a condo, if you live in a hotel, let's say you don't bother to own a car, but your hotel or your unit comes with a parking space, just comes with it by renting the apartment. You can then list your parking space on Rover, and then Rover would then lease it, or would let people use it, and you get some money. It's great. Rover has offered the spots on their platform on a per-use, on-demand basis, but it's going to pilot a monthly subscription starting this summer. With a planned test phase extending into early fall, the company says it's going to try a few different versions of a monthly sub, including potentially perks like a percentage discount versus individual on-demand parking, including advanced booking and premium customer service. Pricing should be in the ballpark of between $5 and $15 Canadian. And this should inform eventual subscription price points for the startup's service should they move beyond the pilot phase. Uber recently debuted a subscription pilot that rolls in its ride-hailing, eats, bikes, and scooter rental services, and Rover cites the move as an example of the move to subscription generally on the on-demand space in its announcement. So I guess the big part here is that the service was already a thing. It's just now we're moving from the idea that you use it as you will. And if I recall Uber, you can pay like a yearly subscription for Uber for a couple $100. And if you use Uber like every single day, they will offer you discounts. And if you are really a power user of this service, you'll save money in the long run. It doesn't make sense for anyone out there who's using it, kind of sparingly, but it's a way for Uber to, really lock in a lot of that funding and really keep them within the app. Because if you have a subscription to, let's say, Rover or Uber, you're probably going to come back and utilize the app even more. So there you go. Rover testing a subscription-based model. Now, let's go ahead, and I'm really excited about this one. And I am like nerd excited about this one. I believe the term is geeking out. Maybe. I don't know. But check this one out here. Justice Department. Yes, the Justice Department of the United States launches an antitrust probe into big tech. I have been harping on this for so long. Man, do I think tech companies have just gotten too big. Like, if phone companies in the 80s got broken up because of their monopolistic tendencies, what the heck are we doing nowadays with Google, Facebook, Amazon, these huge companies? What the heck are we doing? So the department's antitrust division, which is responsible for reviewing and enforcing issues relating to mergers, monopolies, competition, and price fixing, said its review would consider the widespread concerns that consumers, businesses, and entrepreneurs have expressed about search, social media, and some retail services online. Which is really, when you think about it, it's in the hand of just a few companies. There's not many companies that are competing in all those spaces, or really even have the ability to compete because of how dominant some of these companies are. And by the way, on the heels of this, I also want to mention that tomorrow we have more news where we will hear from the who's making that call. I don't think it's the FTC. Maybe it's the Department of Justice as well. They're making their call on whether or not the merger of T-Mobile and Sprint is allowed to go through. So we'll hear about that tomorrow. But if you needed another example of what it means to have less consumer choice and, again, kind of monopolies, T-Mobile and Sprint are looking to merge, leaving customers with only 3 major carriers in the entirety of the U.S. So obviously the DOJ didn't name any names, but the list of market-leading online platforms accused of stifling competition through dishonest tactics or simply of being too big for competitors to exist against generally has Amazon, Facebook, and Google at the top. All 3 companies' stocks immediately tanked following the announcements, which I am really kind of all for. So, and just kind of picking through this article here as well, they mentioned the Alphabet, who owns Google and all their subsidiaries. Alphabet, which owns Google and all of their subsidiaries, are down about 1%. And if you wonder what 1% looks like to a company as big as Alphabet, think $7.6 billion. Yeah, $7.6 billion off of its, just for 1%. Amazon down 1%, or about $10 billion. And again, this is just announcing that, hey, we are concerned about certain companies having a monopoly within the tech space. Like, which should just be obvious, monopolies are bad. And then suddenly, again, $8 billion off of Alphabet, $10 billion off of Amazon, $7 billion off of Apple, and about $8.4 billion off of Facebook. It's when you lose that much money, and I know that it's not really losing that much money. It's just the valuation of the stock went down by that much. Still, $33 billion lost just because, hey, we're going to look into monopolies. It's a no-no in the American capitalist society. Maybe you have a monopoly. Maybe. Reports by several media outlets earlier this year, citing the ever-popular sources familiar with the matter, indicated that the DOJ and federal trade commissions were planning something of a divide-and-conquer approach to tech sector regulation, with the DOJ digging into Apple and Google and the FTC handling Amazon and Facebook. So, the Justice Department is just the latest, not the first, body to take a hard look at the tech sector. Congress kicked off its own probe and into big tech's behavior when the House Antitrust Subcommittee launched a bipartisan investigation, and they said that they called the growth of monopolies in the U.S. economy one of the most pressing economic and political challenges we face today. And it makes a lot of sense because when it comes to lobbying dollars, the communications industry with cell phones and things like that, one of the biggest ones out there. The TV industry, the communications industry, such as Charter and AT&T and Verizon, things like that, they spend a lot of money. Tech companies, including Apple, spend a lot of money lobbying. And for a fact, Amazon spends a ton of money. So when these companies are so big that no one can compete, and then on top of that, they can spend more money to influence policy that then affects them. Yeah, that's kind of the definition of a monopoly. Now, traditional bricks and mortar retailers have also asked regulators to update antitrust policy to rein in Google and Amazon, which dominate the online marketplace through what the retailers are saying are anti-competitive practices. The DOJ is also lagging behind its international peers. Germany, Austria, Italy, and the European Union have all launched separate antitrust investigations into Amazon's behavior and third-party merchants on its marketplace in November. with Google being fined billions by the EU for the same thing. Tech companies getting too powerful. It's just the fact that tech companies were the first ones to hit $1 trillion in company valuation. And I know that, market capitalization is not cash. These companies did not have $1 trillion in cash. But the fact that tech companies were the first ones to kind of hit the mark, and it was multiple tech companies to hit the mark, shows that there is something inherently screwy with the way that tech is currently operating. I really look forward to an in-depth investigation by the DOJ to see what we can do there. So folks, we had a lot of different articles, including one that we should mention in passing. Friend of the show, Origin PC, bought out by Corsair. Who knew? And also, Nintendo's Joy-Con fix is free, is going to be fixed for free. If you have that problem, just give them a call and they will fix it for you, and more. So maybe we'll get to these tomorrow. I don't know. But everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Computer America. Tomorrow, we should have on the show Marcel Gagne, our Linux correspondent. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Have a great one. Bye-bye.